The reading from Isaiah is the story of this king Hezekiah who thought that his end was there, and he just turned to prayer and he was in despair. And because of his sincerity, because he was a good king, he was heard and he was given a second chance. And the result is this beautiful canticle of Hezekiah, which is still sung to this day and will be until the end of Christian time. Traditionally it used to happen on a Tuesday morning. It happens now at least once a month on a Tuesday morning, and also at all the offices of the dead, still said in various places. And each time that one comes across these words, one can sort of place oneself at that point. In fact, yesterday I was at that point with a close friend who actually by now may no longer be with us. I haven't yet caught up on the messages on the mobile phone, because I only open it once a day. And he was there, and we were praying together, as preparing for death, and just quietly for a while, good while, the two of us together, and he just wanted to go because the pain was more than he could handle. But he asked me to pray that the Lord would come soon, and so we prayed together that the Lord Jesus would come soon. He wanted to go. The body, when it can't take much more, just wants to shut down, as you know. But at that point, one is holding hands with a person who's still there, but not for long. And it makes one think. Only a few months ago, it was that situation with my mother. And there you've got many memories going into the beyond. Even though at that stage the person is very much diminished, the person is the same, and all the baggage of memories is there. But then, in a situation like that, Christian death, well prepared, and a good baggage of life behind, it's not tragic. It's like the fruit falling off the tree when it's mature. It's just meant to be that way. It's quite different when a young person, for instance, through violence, takes life, shortens life, or even yesterday, from what I was hearing, this thing that happened in Nice, that's a very different entry into the beyond with no preparation. We don't know, none of us knows when it will happen, because every time one gets into the car, we came here, all of us in cars, well, it's each time a lethal weapon. The driving wheel can drive you into the beyond, not through your own fault, but through some idiot doing it for you. That's usually the case. It's someone else's fault, usually. So, this, then, I'd like to leave with you. Just this day, I hear that in your extended family, a new child has come into this world. Therefore, a new soul has been planted on our planet for a while. But that soul, now remember, is starting on a long journey. It won't stop. Once conceived, the person will not stop. It comes into being, and it comes into our sight when it's born. But that soul, once it's on its travels, will go on. It can go either way. Now remember, the first sacrament actually I ever celebrated was when I was a deacon. It was a baptism. And I remember coming back to my cell in the monastery in Italy and writing this about what's happened here. You have this person, and you're, as it were, giving that soul the passport. But will it go this way or that way? The passport can be lost. We can actually forfeit our privilege. If we don't use well the grace of baptism, we can be our own worst enemy. And so each beginning has a conclusion, somewhere, somewhere. And as it happened, that child came back years later, and he was growing up nicely. Very interesting to see how life goes on. Embryonically, we're just a tiny, tiny child like that one, but then we grow and we have our history, and that history we cannot unwrite. We can't undo history. Each day is written, and if you look at our history, it's kind of important, because we reap the consequences of what we write. Choices have consequences, which we can't alter. Indelible ink is our history. It is written. And so it's kind of important each day that we face the drama of time. It's just too important, one day. Now I want to just conclude with one little story. It's what I was talking about recently to a person who was thinking about what life and death was about. Many people are actually fairly close to the beyond and are pushing it away. And often, unfortunately, in our culture, that pushing away is greatly favoured, even sometimes during healthcare. There was a case a few years ago, maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, here in Ireland, further north than here, it was actually in Belfast, where there was an accident in one of the main streets of Belfast, and 2 young people were very badly injured, and it happened fairly close as it happens to St. Paul's Catholic Church in Falls Road. The priest was warned, and he came out immediately with the sacraments, and he wanted to do his best because he could see how serious it was. And what happened? He found a barrage of protection by the authorities now, and he tried to explain what he was trying to do, and there was no question. No one at all, was going to pass that barrage of defence. And so, out of the 2, one of the young men died. He was a Catholic, they were both Catholics, and the priest could do nothing about it except something perhaps at a distance. Actually, as it happens, that created such a rumpus that the police had to apologise publicly. They had not acted correctly. The family's wishes had not been respected. But the other, I think he's still alive, I don't know what state he's in. A nun was also involved in the accident, badly wounded, but she didn't die. Now this is something which kind of, sort of, is typical of what's going on right now in modern society. We do everything to perpetuate life for a few hours sometimes, and yet this other bit is pushed aside. And if one looks carefully at children now going into the world, even in the sphere of what they're told in school, there's this political correctness about things which means you must never ever talk about this big issue. You must never in any way upset them, frighten them. So what they're getting is a message that it's automatic, that we're all getting there, and the bottom line is that God is so sugary he can never in any way harm us. It's true, but we can harm ourselves, and that's the bottom line. We cannot make it, and we need to be careful because it's not just automatic. And if we go suddenly into the beyond with unfinished business, that is, our history written, visible before our eyes as we wake up, and having all these smudges and blotches not sorted, it's kind of risky. So these are the things that we need also to communicate in their language to the little people growing up. We can do all we can for their body, all we can for their fun and games. But if we're not looking after this bit, we're not doing our work. The big bit is the bit that goes on. So let's get this straight. Look after the little people properly and interiorly, and look after the one bit that will never ever disappear. First Sacrament. Lines written after baptizing a little child in the abbey, shortly after ordination to the diaconate. O little child, whom here we consecrate, wilt thou tomorrow be a child of hell, or will the magic rays that emanate from this Siloam come, and at thy knell bid aeons halt to let thee enter in, to where by right, thou dost belong mid other angel wings. Nay, chained sin here snapped, will it for aye repeat earth's song? Will Adam live again, and pain long gone wilt be the lot of yet a little soul? And this great mark and question that here shone upon this blessed head, will it the whole of myriad moments blast when 'tis too late? Or will a little water demons sate?